Welcome to NDTV again, Sensei.
Thank you very much for having me.
So everyone, we have with us Professor Taniguchi, Professor Tomohhiko Taniguchi, speechwriter and special advisor of former Prime Minister Mr. Shinzo Abe. So Taniguchi Sensei, actually, as you know, that India is this year we are hosting the G20. So you would love to know, what do you think what is your impression? What do you think that how well India is doing it?
I am not sure if I could call Bharat or India, but I think
Bharat.
Bharat as the name of the country has made a stunning debut in the international arena. That aside, under Narendra Modi, Indian or Bharat Foreign Service has done a remarkable job, as a result of which one should say the G20 summit meeting and the preceding other meetings have been among the best performed accomplishments in the entire history of the G20 meetings. Why so? Because everyone knew from the right beginning that it would be nearly impossible for the host nation and Delhi's foreign service to come up with a united statement to be issued by the leaders. Nonetheless, you gave the world a surprise shown on the very first day of the summit meeting of the G20 leaders' declaration. And it is well crafted. It covers almost all aspects, and I think that represented the greatest common factor agreeable to the participating members of the G20 meetings. Plus, I would like
to just interrupt a little bit. What is the difference do you find between other G20 meetings and this year's G20 meetings?
Right, in many respects. First, India hosted, as is the case with many other nations, many ministerial meetings. But the difference here is that you let the participating member nations delegates to almost all corners of India and let them see through their own eyes how advancing Indian economy, Indian society are at the moment. So it succeeded in showcasing to the world the advancement of Indian political economic systems. And I think that's one difference. And another has to do with the fact that I mentioned that on the very first day of the G20 summit meeting, you succeeded in publicizing, issuing the leaders' declaration. It evinces that a huge amount of work had preceded the opening of the G20 summit meetings. I think 3 cheers to the members of the Indian Foreign Service.
So even India is going to include the African Union also. What is your opinion on that?
Right. That would be long remembered as among the best achievements that the host nation India has shown this year in this G20 series of meetings. African Union is going to gain influence year in and year out for a long time to come. So time was ripe for African Union to be included in multilateral organizations. And so under India, G20 has shown its relevance. G20 started off its life as a fire extinguisher in the aftermath of the great financial crisis in the year 2008. So as time went on, G20 has been gradually losing its relevance. Now, under India, G20 has gained new impetus and new life, may I say.
Exactly, very rightly you said, Sensei. And here, as we all know, that Abe-san always wanted India to grow, and India and Japan relationship
Sure.
like anything. So, how Abe-san would have reacted today, the way India is hosting G20?
I think Prime Minister Narendra Modi is among the closest spiritual friends to Shinzo Abe. If alive, Mr. Abe would have given a lot of praise, appreciation to Narendra Modi personally. Even if he were alive, he would not have been Japanese prime minister, would have already stepped down as prime minister, so he could not have joined G20 summit meetings. But yes, Shinzo Abe would be the one that was very much appreciative of the way in which Narendra Modi has handled the series of meetings.
I think we are actually now, since India is doing so well, and now really we are missing Abe-san here. Actually, personally, I feel that. Do you think somewhere Kishida-san is can fulfill that gap?
Unfortunately, I think it's an impossible task for anyone to fill the void. Shinzo Abe is the towering figure in the Japanese, not only post-war, but the entire modern history. Never before had there been anyone like Shinzo Abe who's gained recognition, reputation from all corners of the world. And for Shinzo Abe to build a very, very good relationship with India and with Narendra Modi personally was among the most important policy goals, because to build a good relationship with India for Shinzo Abe was tantamount to investing into Japan's own future, because India to Shinzo Abe represented something like the future prosperity and safety. So yes, those were the things that Shinzo Abe would have said if alive.
Yes, Sensei. So yesterday, I think you have seen the picture. We are just bringing a little bit culture here. So First Lady, Mrs. Kishida, she wore sari and she was looking very beautiful. What would you like to say? It is, I think she's the only one, if I'm not wrong, who wore sari, and she's looking really amazing in sari. And do you think it is a wonderful step for Mrs. Kishida to go to India and just wearing sari?
I could not agree more. Well, Prime Minister Kishida must be very much grateful for his beloved wife, who's done a remarkable job. And I think Mrs. Kishida should and could do things like that even more going forward.
Yes, I'm sure that in future also we'll see her in sari also. And Sensei, what is the Japan's takeaway from the consensus was declared already? What do you think Japan's takeaway it would be from that?
I think Tokyo's diplomats have had a sigh of relief, because under the wise stewardship of the members of Indian Foreign Service, G20 has extended its relevance, its life. And Japan's been very much a diligent student of multilateralism. So what India has done, and what the course that India has shown are the ones that Tokyo could agree wholeheartedly. So the biggest takeaway Tokyo has had about the G20 summit meeting is that thanks to the great work of India, G20 has extended its life, and inclusion of AU has been long overdue. And for that matter, Delhi has done a good job.
Sensei, this year's theme, the G20 theme, actually the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, what is in English, they have said one earth, one family, one future. And Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, it says it's a very Sanskrit from many thousands years. We have taken it from the world is a family. So do you think we are moving towards that, though China did not attend here?
Short term, this house is divided. It is not one house, one family. The world is divided, which is the reason why you must continue to hold high those mantras. Sometimes slogan does matter. And the slogan that India has chosen this year, because of its root in India's long history and culture, is going to continue to be able to work as a beacon of hope for the future G7, G20 multilateral leaders. So that's what I think. But if you look at where the world is, objectively, this world is divided. And first and foremost, the war in Ukraine has to be stopped, and Russia has to withdraw from the occupied territory. And China, I think Xi Jinping intended to give a slap to the face of Narendra Modi. But I think China has succeeded in, let's say, marginalize itself because of the absence of the leader, Xi Jinping.
So world is divided still. So but we have to work on that. War must stop. So yesterday's consensus, like it is that what India declared, India did not support anyone, but India said that we should not go for war, which actually before also Mr. Modi said at G7 as well. So do you think it is a right decision for India to take this step?
It is not a wrong decision. And a lot of countries, including Japan, wanted India to do more. But at the same time, Tokyo, especially, has been well aware of the difficulties, complexities, multilateral challenges that Delhi has faced with. So Tokyo has not done any sort of blaming business vis-a-vis India.
True, very true. Very truly you said. So the last question would be, what do you think about India and Japan's? It's not only about the leaders, but the as much as Indian community in Japan should be, we don't have only 40,000 compared to other countries. How we can improve it, how more Japanese we can take to India.
That's very much true. And I think things that Japanese business community can do range from cover a lot of things. First and foremost, my suggestion humbly would be that Japanese corporate leaders think of sending their top achievers no more to New York or to London, but to Delhi, Mumbai, and other cities in India. And India represents the future, and that much has to be recognized even more fully by the leaders of the Japanese business community. And the same goes with Japanese academic leaders. More sister university relationships have to be done between and among Indian higher education institutions and Japanese counterparts. But why don't we say the sky is the limit?
Exactly. True. And we have to work hard. We have to work towards that. You will, definitely. Thank you so much, Sensei. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your time on behalf of entire NDTV. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Namaste and arigatou gozaimashita.
Namaste.